The journey I want to undertake here concerns Italy and the management of its cultural heritage. I realize, however, that explaining what Italy has done and tries to do to promote its culture abroad is a difficult task. My intention, however, is to analyze all the bodies and subjects that together contribute to the promotion of the product Italy, and briefly explain how the advent of the Internet has changed the tourism sector by transforming the original balances that governed the matter. I therefore consider fundamental the figure of the cultural linguistic mediator, who with his professionalism has its main purpose to facilitate communication in various sectors, even in tourism. Another figure is that of the embassies, that also promote cultural and scientific relations between different countries. I will then proceed with the treatment of my work in English in relation to the development of diplomacy over the years, and then in Spanish deepen the territorial tools that the state uses for the promotion of the territory. In an increasingly advanced era, Italy, but in general almost all countries, are influenced by the use of new technologies that are changing more and more the dynamics of information and meditations. In fact, many news defined as important can be given to agencies or launched on Twitter, because this means allows you to reach more sources and talk directly with people without any kind of mediation. We are therefore in the presence of a new phenomenon, digital diplomacy. In fact, from the end of October 2012, thanks to the son of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Monti government, Claudio Bisogniero, everyone can access the new social media platform of the Italian Embassy in Washington, the first stage of the new digital strategy of the Farnesina. The idea of nation branding is linked and in some ways distinct to the idea of cultural diplomacy, which concerns the use of marketing tools applied to the national image, as if it were a brand. It is aimed at improving the vision of the identity of a country both at home and abroad, considering in particular citizens as spokespersons and at the same time recipients of the message. The image of Italy is therefore given not only by politicians but also and above all by the communication and exchange of information over the air, and in this context it's necessary to mention also cultural diplomacy, understood as a set of actions that the state carries out to promote its ethical cultural heritage, with the ultimate goal of protecting the national interest and in particular take care of the use of culture. The potential of attraction of a nation, in fact, is not only represented by its economic and military strength, but is fed through the dissemination of its culture and historical values of reference, as opposed to hard power. Italy has an advantage. History, art, and lifestyle have made us a cultural superpower, but to become a true soft power, therefore able to generate a benefit for the country in terms of influence and economic impact, however, the generic cultural prestige is not enough. It must translate into institutions and precise actions. In fact, according to the values taken in consideration by Portland Communications, one of the most prestigious communication agencies in the world, Italy ranks 11th in terms of seduction and attractiveness. Then, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Angelino Alfano, reiterated that, thanks to Instagram, Italy was the most photographed country in the world and the one most users of the network wanted to visit. The state, and therefore the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also promotes its identity with local authorities that develop the product Italy. An example are the Italian Institutes of Culture, which are located in various countries and funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and organize events of art, music, film, literature, fashion, design, photography, and architecture, as well as the management of Italian language and culture courses according to the Common European Framework of Reference. As an example of an Italian institute abroad, I quote the Italian Institute of Culture in London, that over the years has organized important events of the past to today's issues. One, to talk about the racial laws of 1938 and the extreme right parties of today. One, to tell the Basaglia Law, which came into force in 1978, and the differences between the Italian and British health systems, with the historian John Foote. Another example of an Italian institute abroad is the one in Barcelona, which organizes cultural events with the aim of promoting the circulation of ideas, art and science, and provides courses in Italian language and culture held by native speakers. Another tool used by the Minister of Foreign Affairs in view of the great heritage that poets and writers have left to Italy are the literary parks, or paths and itineraries along the places of life and inspiration of great writers, towns and villages, but also landscapes and countryside told in a text, which become a cultural and environmental heritage to be protected, source of a large influx of tourists. Among the most famous are the Literary Park of Dante, Francesco Petrarca and Giacomo Leopardi. The words of the great Fernando Pessoa, "The fortune of a people depends on the state of its grammar." There is no great nation without properties of language, because in the third edition of the State General of the Italian Language in the World, dedicated to Italian in the Networks for Italian, which was held in Rome as Villa Madama, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Enzo Moavero Milanesi, illustrated a very interesting and comforting fact at the same time, that Italian is now the third most studied language in the world. Naturally, it is necessary to strengthen Italy's image and reputation in the world, and this objective can be achieved by strengthening the tools of which I have briefly illustrated in my paper, in the voice culture. And to carry out this project and achieve concrete results, we need to increase international connectivity. And despite those who snub the humanistic heritage as unprofitable, the study of the State General of the Italian language has shown that strengthening the language and culture serves to relaunch the entire country system. In conclusion, therefore, I can say thanks also to the last part of my paper, that if Italian is the third most spoken language in the world, it is also due to the management and promotion of its cultural heritage.